Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Hey, Atlanta. Apple is open for small business. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. With privacy and security built in on all devices, it's easy for you to protect your customers' data. And if you need hardware or software support, you'll get advice from business experts at no cost whatsoever. So you can focus more on the soup du jour and less on, the other stuff. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/small business or visit an Apple store to learn more.
I think this is probably among my favourite Coen Brothers films, definitely top 5.
I'd forgotten a lot that happened in it and really, really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to people.
If you kind of like Westerns, then you will probably like it. But I think if you're a fan of the Coens and you haven't seen it, you should definitely see it. And the three main performances are really good.
Are you not a fan of snakes?
I'm very afraid of snakes, and he normally gives me a snake warning. I almost texted you saying thank you for no snake warning.
Yeah, I felt guilty for not giving you one. I'm really sorry.
Hello everyone, joining Flixwatcher today we have Matthew.
Hello.
Amelie.
Hello.
And Kobe.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about True Grit.
Thank you, as always, to the mighty people for the mighty, mighty tunes. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills.
Please do remember to write a review and rate us on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you can do where you listen to the podcast, because it really does help us.
And you can join in the conversation with us on Twitter
at FlixWatcherPod and on Instagram
at FlixWatcher.
Hello film fans, thanks for listening. Joining Flixwatcher we have Matthew and Amelie. If you could please say hello to our listeners and tell them a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Hello, I'm Matthew Turner. I'm a film critic. I've been a film critic for 22 years, and I am the co-host of the Fatal Attractions podcast with Amelie and our other co-hosts, Leslie and Paul.
And who are you, Amelie? You're returning guests.
My name is Amelie. I work in SEO, but I am a big film fan, and so I am the co-host of a Fatal Attraction podcast. We've been going on for 5 years. We're about to record 89 episodes. And Matt talk about more about the podcast.
So myself and Amelie and Leslie Pitt and Paul Costello basically started the podcast through a mutual interest on Twitter. The four of us were chatting about how much we loved erotic thrillers on Twitter. And, somebody said, oh, it should be a blog post. And somebody else said, oh, no, it should be a podcast. And then we were like, no, actually, it should be a podcast. Should we in fact do a podcast? And the four of us started one. There was a fifth person, but they dropped out just before we were about to start it. So
really?
we were originally going to have a fifth co-host. But I think it works really well with the four of us. We've got four very different voices, and we're four very different people. And I think we bring a good approach to it.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm 51, so I'd seen all of those films that we cut, all the 90s films that we covered on their original kind of cinema release, and the others had either seen some of them in the cinemas or had basically caught up with them. And there's always an interesting story about how they first saw them.
Yeah.
With certainly the first 50 that we covered kind of all our favourites from the 90s, so it was always I used to see it in my video shop all the time, and I couldn't resist the cover, and so we try and kind of. It's not just looking at the film; it's also kind of our own relationship to the film.
Well, I mean, the big one obviously is maybe not obviously is Basic Instinct, and I remember when that came out in the cinemas, and people in my school were like, "Have you heard about this film, Basic Instinct?" So I was like, "When did Basic Instinct come out?" It was 93 or something like that.
92.
So
it's 30.
So I was 12.
30. Yeah.
So I was 12 when that came out, and then when it came on TV, on ITV. And it was massively cut down. And I remember that kind of furor like the next day.
Disappointment of teen boys across the entire country.
So I do like that aspect of your podcast where you kind of talk about your first interaction with these things, and then obviously again this, I don't know, the specialist and everything else that Madonna got involved in. Body of evidence. Yeah, there was a discussion which is better, body of evidence or Basic Instinct.
Clearly, Basic Instinct. Basic Instinct for me is the sine qua non, the without which nothing of the erotic thriller genre. I think it wouldn't. Whilst you might have had like the occasional film, the boom in the 90s that was a direct result of the success of Basic Instinct, and it's just the best of them. We do I keep. Now the others kind of disagree on the order, but I keep a ranking of the 89 episodes we've done so far on Letterboxd, and Basic Instinct has always been at the top of that list.
For you, yeah, it is at the top.
Me, yeah.
For me, it's probably top 3. But yeah.
Okay.
But,
I think all of us have got it in the top 5. Yeah.
And do you go into foreign language films as well, or is it always?
Yeah,
we do. We not for the first 50, but we have done more recently. We've had, I think, probably the best one we've all done is The Handmaiden.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All of us just absolutely love that. Yeah.
You all just sound so relieved to have one that you enjoyed. You're like, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
I think that maybe come after I'd have to check, but definitely like you do get a run of. You do get.
What was the other?
You do get a run of duds, let's say. Yeah.
Part-time work do Stoker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to have to do it as well. So
yeah, we'll definitely do Stoker.
So
that's a decent one. Anyway, we're not here to talk about erotic thrillers, although, 12-year-old me would be like, how can you say that, Kobe? We're here to talk about True Grit. This is your choice. Matt, can you tell us first of all why you chose it? And then we'll have a synopsis in 60 seconds or less.
Yes, it was my favourite film from that year, 2010, I think. And I love the Coen Brothers. I've always loved the Coen Brothers, and I basically picked it mostly because I really wanted to revisit it. So I think I only saw it the once when it came out, and I hadn't seen it since. So it was the perfect excuse, basically. I
think that's reason enough to. I just want to watch it again. Why not? That's what Netflix is for. Part of what Netflix is for, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so 60 seconds to give us your synopsis starts right about. Can you tell I'm fumbling now?
Okay, so I'm going to say, written and directed by the Coen Brothers, True Grit is adapted from the novel by Charles Portis, although since the classic John Wayne Western was also closely adapted from the same source, it's essentially also a remake of the 1969 film, despite Joel and Ethan's protests to the contrary. Hailee Steinfeld stars as feisty 14-year-old Mattie Ross, who recruits boozy, one-eyed U.S. Marshal Rooster Cogburn, Jeff Bridges, to help track down her father's killer, outlaw Tom Chaney, played by Josh Brolin. Despite Mattie's objections, Cogburn is joined by preening Texas Ranger LaBoeuf, played by Matt Damon, who's pursuing Chaney for a different crime. However, when they try and set out without her, Mattie proves she has true grit of her own by riding her horse through a river in order to catch up with them, and the three head deep into Indian territory, believing Chaney to have joined another outlaw gang headed by Lucky Ned Pepper, played by Barry Pepper. Oh, look at that. 4 seconds to go.
Very good.
One of my favourite gags, which was more apparent this time, because I watch everything with subtitles, is calling Matt Damon's character LaBoeuf instead of LaBoeuf, even though the subtitles say LaBoeuf.
It really annoyed me.
Does it annoy you?
Yeah,
because I was like,
gag. Do you think it's a gag?
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was in America. The Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
And I'm like, people say Shia LaBeouf. Why did they say LaBoeuf all the time? I didn't even realize it was a gag. I thought it was that they didn't know how to pronounce his name.
Does he introduce himself? Does he not introduce himself as LaBoeuf, though?
I think he does.
I think he does.
Yeah. But it's the subtitles. It's like, no one's called LaBoeuf. So
yeah, it's LaBoeuf.
No, his name is his real name in the credits. His name is LaBoeuf. French for the French spelling. Yeah. One word, I think, as well.
Maybe his own family didn't even know how to pronounce it.
Well, that's what happens, isn't it? A lot of Anglicizations come from just like people saying, "Look, it's just easier." Not Johansson, it's just Johnson, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
If you can't get that right.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Helen prepared a list. I think the Coen Brothers at least tied with Quentin Tarantino before this, but I think now they're the most films from the from the directors. That makes no sense as a sentence. Helen, take it away.
Coen Brothers, along with Tarantino, are the most featured directors. So this will be the 6th entry for the Coen Brothers. So when we do the scoring later, we'll see where True Grit comes.
Yeah, so interesting.
Yeah.
Talking about the Coen Brothers, so you're going to laugh because True Grit I never watched it because I have to admit I don't really like Westerns. So that will influence my scores and my criticism of the film. But so I had completely forgotten who had directed it. And I was watching it and kind of midway, I thought, this is quite funny, like quirky, a bit like, a bit like Oddballs and everything. And I was like, it's a bit like Coen Brothers, no? Like, and I was like, wait a minute, isn't it them that directed it? And I was like, of course it makes sense now.
And hence the LaBoeuf gag.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
Sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
I'm not gonna. We'll talk a bit about the Coen Brothers and our relationships with them later on. But let's talk about this. And I think the most interesting takeaway from this film was when I first saw Mattie Ross, Hailee Steinfeld. I was like, she's great. I'm sure she'll do nothing else ever, because that's what actors like her tend to do. But now
you thought that she was never going to do anything else.
Because most of them do. And I thought, yeah, she's not going to see in another film. And then, like a couple of years later, she's in Pitch Perfect. Now she's like everywhere, and I think she's great in Hawkeye, for example. And I think she's a truly fantastic screen presence. And now I rewatch this, I'm like, well, she was great in this. She was undoubtedly,
she's
amazing
in it.
What's the teen film called? 17 something.
Edge of 17. Yeah, we've had that on here as well.
For me, it's Begin Again, because I love Begin Again so much as she's in it as well. That kind of rebellious, very
Is
rebellious.
She in Begin Again?
Yeah, she's Mark Ruffalo's daughter. She plays the guitar and everything with him.
I didn't know that was her. Oh, okay.
I'd forgotten that. Yeah.
Nice.
And she's a singer in real life as well. So she sings a lot.
Well, she's in Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, she's a proper singer, like a pop singer,
She's absolutely fantastic in this, I think. She absolutely makes this film. And she's certainly head and shoulders above Kim. I think it's Kim Darby who plays the role in the John Wayne version. Like, it's just so much more character to her.
I've never seen. I mean, would the John Wayne version have allowed a sassy youngster to override John Wayne in the way that she did for Jeff Bridges? And I mean, that scene I don't even know what kind of establishment it was, but when she was trying to barter for the horses and the ponies, where she just completely rattles that guy.
I love that line. I admire your sand.
Yeah.
But does it mean that I admire your sand, actually?
It's just an expression. I mean, it's not a real. I think it's probably an invented expression for this movie.
Okay.
Or rather for the book. The book has That's the interesting thing, actually, is that the dialogue is very similar in both versions of the movie. So, actually, I think a lot of that dialogue came from the book itself. So, I think some of the language is invented for the book. I mean, who knows? I admire your sand could well have been an expression but I've never heard it outside of this movie anyway. It just means I admire your spirit.
Yeah.
Do you guys struggle with understanding their accents or not? Because I did.
Yeah, I mean, Cogburn, Jeff Bridges was deliberately kind of
growling.
Yeah.
Mumbling.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the big talking points around the film, right? When it first came out, was Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Really?
That
people couldn't understand him?
I definitely put it in the review. I think it's a conscious choice, obviously, but I think actually it works. Like, it's not really important what he's actually saying. I think it actually really works for that character. Normally I hate it, and normally it is incredibly annoying to me when that happens in a movie. But in this particular single case, I think it works.
Okay.
Ellen, where are we on True Grit?
So I'm pretty sure I've seen this before when it came out because I go to the cinema for the Coens, but I am not a Western fan. They do not excite me, and I struggle a little bit with them. But for this, I'll give it a pass because there's something about it, and I think it is the acting in it is brilliant, and it's kind of a bit of an unusual Western story in that it's got kind of the strong female character who almost kind of like out Westerns the guys in that, and I really like Matt Damon in this. I kind of like it when he plays idiots and
when he
characters that kind of get beaten down,
like randomly.
Yeah, and he gets his twig out and starts spanking her. And I also like the idea that this version kind of like gets rid of the John Wayne version because I find him a bit problematic. So this is the version. So while I'm not like yay ho for Westerns, I did enjoy watching it. I watched it and I was like, I really don't remember that much about it. And the only thing I remember from it is the kind of near the end where she's been bitten by the snake and they're riding at night and it's kind of like very dreamy in the stars and they shoot the horse, spoiler. And I think
Blackie, poor little Blackie.
Yeah. I think that it's the Coens bringing their like special style to it.
It's the most memorable one, most memorable scene, I think.
That reminds me, I need to apologise to Emily because I forgot about the snakes. Sorry, Emily.
Are you not a fan of snakes?
I'm very afraid of snakes, and he normally gives me a snake warning. I almost texted you saying thank you for no snake warning.
Yeah, I felt guilty for not giving you one. I'm really sorry.
It terrified me. Those 2 snakes over her body. Oh no. Yeah, and he bites her as well. So
yeah, I know. It's worst possible snake scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that was the thing. I didn't remember that she lost her arm as a result of it. Because normally in films the snake is like a peril, but nothing comes of it in a way. So this is kind of good to see that.
You haven't met Kill Bill in Kill Bill, the Black Mamba, then?
I mean, I have, but it's. I guess maybe I'm just thinking about not Last Crusade, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's in a pit of snakes, and there's like nothing going on. There's no kind of real threat there.
Obviously, medicine was slightly different back then. One thing I did sort of when I was thinking when I was watching it is that. Hangings, hey, I'm glad they are not around because the opening is quite grim, and just like generally, I don't think I would have survived that well in Western times.
No, I think I would have been killed many times.
Yeah, imagine.
But the hanging does
lead
to
Bess Reeves.
Well, true. The hanging does lead to one of my favourite gags in the film when they come across that guy hanging super high up in the tree. And he makes her cut him down, saying, like, I know this guy from way back when. And she goes to the effort of cutting him down. And he goes, and then he drops onto the floor and is like, I do not know this man.
There are loads of great little moments in this film, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly like that. Like just throwaway moments and stuff like that. A lot of that, I don't remember a lot of that from the John Wayne version. Certainly things like that moment. I mean, it could be in it for all I know, but it's been a long time.
I don't think I've ever seen one John Wayne film.
What?
Yeah, so I think
I haven't either.
So I think I'm.
What? That's why you don't like westerns, because you haven't seen any of the great westerns.
Kobe didn't say anything about western. It was Helen and me.
No, I meant Helen.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
but Kobe said that he hasn't seen any John Wayne.
It's interesting what puts people off, because I'm not really. People listen to this for the umpteenth time. You'll hear me say I'm not really a horror guy, and if someone said, let's go and watch Western, I'll be like, really? But if someone said, let's go watch True Grit, let's watch Unforgiven, let's watch something, I'll be like, yeah, let's watch it. I think it's sometimes the context of it. And so I wouldn't even class this as a Western. And also the term Western can be really broad. Like No Country for Old Men, people say that's a Western, but I wouldn't call that Western. So I think
it's present day, isn't it, for one thing?
Yeah, but some people talk about westerns in the kind of just the music, having the big
wide. If there's a cowboy hat, it's a western.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think it's when it takes place in Texas or that kind of thing. It's going to be western, but
yeah. I mean, I would stick to the classic definition for this, for categorization purposes. But
so, what would you say that it has to be around the conquest of the West and everything? More?
Yeah, it has to be set sort of somewhere in the 1800s and maybe early 1900s,
so
and
you
in
don't
the West,
think that,
and with Western kind of scenery and what have you.
So you see, for example, what is it? Hell or High Water? I would call it a Western as well.
That's present day as well, right?
Yeah, it's present day, but I would call it a Western.
I mean, it's got Western elements, yeah, sure. But I mean, anything where you've got like a bounty hunter and a criminal is Western elements, right? Yeah. But or a criminal coming to town and causing trouble, and somebody has to stand up against it. That's Western elements too. But I would say has Western elements rather than call it an actual Western.
I loved, and I say the names escape from that HBO show that ran for 3 seasons with Ian McShane.
The what? The one
Deadwood.
Deadwood, yeah.
Deadwood.
I love that to bits.
I love it too, but I've never made it past the 4th episode of the 2nd series. But I've rewatched it. I watched it the first time, installed then, and then I watched it again and stalled at the same place, and I never got to finish it. So I've only seen 1st season and 4 episodes, but I absolutely love it and will absolutely watch it at some point.
Do you like westerns then normally?
Me?
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, okay. I didn't when I was. They weren't something I was immediately drawn to when I was a teenager. But I definitely developed a taste for them, shortly after becoming obsessed with films. I do think they're an important part of film history, and you do have to, I don't have to see the classics, but the classics are great movies. Stagecoach, The Searchers, Red River, all the great westerns are great westerns.
I've seen them, but it's just I think it's always the theme itself that I'm not really interested in, like the conquest of the West, just their life in general, and then them going to the saloon and that kind of thing, or them fighting, like the duel, that kind of thing.
I always find
the kind of coming of civilization isn't an interesting theme.
No, I don't really care. No,
I like,
and they're all slow, I find, and just.
I'm not big into horses, so
yeah,
that's another thing as well. Like horses,
I think
sand,
the lawlessness, the lawlessness aspect is the thing that pulls me in more than anything. But when it comes to like the duels, I just kind of think, guys. But I think they're all kind of war. And for fuck's sake, there's better ways to resolve this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Coen Brothers films. Where do we sit in general? Amelie, start with you.
Hit or miss for me. So I really like Oh Brother Where Art Thou, but I think it's the one that is the most goofy, I would say. So I think that, I would call Oh Brother Where Art Thou a Western as well, Matt, maybe because of the staging where it takes place or something. But I think that at least it's very goofy. So I think I like the very goofy Coen Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I like what is it? Inside
Llewyn
Davis. I like them, but I've never praised them to the gods. Like I think they are great story writers. I like their lines and everything, but otherwise it's just I'm not a huge fan of them. I don't even like Fargo that much. It's not really my.
Holy shit! Okay,
I know,
Matt.
I do love the Coen Brothers and have loved them since Miller's Crossing. I think that's still my favourite, and that's the one that kind of really made me fall in love with them. But I will say that Inside Llewyn Davis is probably the last one of their films that I really loved, and maybe they are a bit hit and miss around then. I love The Hudsucker Proxy. I love The Big Lebowski. I wasn't as keen on Fargo for a long time. As the others. Certainly when it came out, it was my least favourite. But it's grown on me since. Partly as a result of the TV show. I really love the Fargo TV show. And I revisited the movie because of that. And yeah.
You got it.
This I would place very highly. I think this is probably among my favourite Coen Brothers films. Definitely top 5. It's the one I'm not so keen on. Obviously, nobody really likes. What's the one with George Clooney and Catherine Zeta-Jones?
Intolerable Beauty. Cruelty, yes, that's it.
Intolerable Cruelty. Yeah, I haven't rewatched it, but I haven't. Yeah, Hail Caesar, I'm right in the middle on. I really love the setting and obviously the dialogue and the performances. And there are some lines that I love from it, but I don't think it's as great a film as their other films.
Helen, we've obviously discussed Coen's quite a bit on this, so.
Yeah, so very much like hard like their 90s film probably. Them for me were all big hits, and then probably the same. I found some of the more recent ones have been a bit hit and miss for me. But then again, like some of them maybe I didn't quite get the first time round. Like I had a better experience with No Country for Old Men the second time round. But yeah, a bit more hit and miss. The Big Lebowski, absolutely love, and Fargo, absolutely love, and Miller's Crossing, and we've already mentioned Inside Llewyn Davis, but the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, oh no, absolutely not.
Oh, is it bad? Yeah.
And I didn't really like the.
I love the actual Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I wasn't so keen on the list on the other films in that collection.
That's the thing with the vignette portmanteau films. It almost seems like a bit of a cop-out that you're having multiple films in one, but also it gives you the kind of opportunity just to watch the section that you like more. And that's the same with Hail Caesar. Essentially, it was the same kind of thing, wasn't it? It's a melange of set pieces. I'd rather have a narrative, although I did enjoy aspects of Buster Scruggs and I enjoyed aspects of Hail Caesar a lot. But guys, time's running out. Let's head to the scores.
Hello, I'm Kate Lever, host of Who's a Good Dog, the podcast for anyone who's ever loved a dog. We're one of the other podcasts in the Stripped Media family. Each episode, I ask a brilliant person to introduce me to their dog and tell me how having a dog has changed their life. Listen to Who's a Good Dog wherever you get your podcasts.
So welcome to the Flixwatcher scores on the spreadsheet of dreams. All of the scores are out of 5 and you may have decimal places. And we will start with you, please, Matthew, with your recommendability.
I mean, I love this film. I gave it 5 stars when it came out. I reviewed it for View London, like I said, when it first came out. And I stand by that 5 stars. So I'm going full 5.
Wow, there we go. Out the gate. Amelie.
You know what? I'm going to get 2.5 because I would recommend it to people that like Westerns. So for people that don't like Westerns, I wouldn't really recommend it.
2.5.
Not even for a great Hailee Steinfeld performance.
I would say watch Dickinson or Age of 17 or something.
See, what we get is pandering to the other person. You know, I do like seeing this. It's good. It's good. Helen.
So I'm going to give it a 4. I think if you kind of like Westerns, then you will probably like it. But I think if you're a fan of the Coens and you haven't seen it, you should definitely see it. And the 3 main performances are really good. They're more of a selling point for me than the kind of like Western vibes. Like particularly Matt Damon when he ends up like biting his tongue off. I just think that's a really funny performance. So for a strong 4.
Josh Brolin's really great in it too. Like they're constantly moaning about how badly his life's turned out. I really love that little character bit.
I'm going 4.2. I remember it. I think I enjoyed. I saw it. I did see it in the cinema when it first came out and enjoyed it then. Hadn't revisited it then, and I really was looking forward to watching it again after this. And I had forgotten a lot that happened in it and really, really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to people.
Okay, do you know what? Changed my score to 3. Because that was harsh. So 3.
Matt, repeat viewing score.
I'd give it 5. I mean, like I said, I hadn't actually rewatched it since it came out, but I really, really enjoyed rewatching it. So I would definitely watch it again.
Amelie?
Let's say 4.
Okay. Amelie, is this your first time watching it, Amelie?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think I will rewatch it, to be honest. I would give 3 as well.
Fairly gracious for something you're not going to watch again. Helen.
Yeah, so second time round, it's close. It's pushing the 2-hour mark, so it's not going to be one I'm going to rush back to. But if someone was to say, do you want to watch it? I wouldn't be like, oh my God, no, please don't make me do it. So a 3?
Yeah, 10 years apart since watching it the first time, or 10 years plus. And I think it probably benefits forgetting stuff that happened to get the most out of it. So I will watch it again, but not frequently. So yeah, 3.29.
3.29.
When you've got a spreadsheet, guys, you can do anything you want. A small screen score, Matt.
Right. So again, as in also along with Into the Wild, I watched this on the iPad specifically for this part of the podcast. And yeah, I have to say it was obviously you miss the sort of grandeur of the Western scenery and the settings and what have you, and the widescreen, the full-on screen scenery. Mm-hmm. But I would say it definitely held my attention on the small screen. So yeah, you're not going to lose all that much by watching on the small screen. So 3.5.
Amelie.
Yeah, I think that compared to Into the Wild, I think you're really missing out on the scenery. I didn't think that this one is really. I mean, it's obviously it's well filmed, it's Roger Deakins and everything, but yeah, I think you don't miss out that much by watching it on a smaller screen. So I would say 3.5.
Helen.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I saw it at the cinema, but memory is very hazy. I had a fine time watching this. I watched it on my iPad actually, and I think because like the story is more of a pull than me, it doesn't necessarily need to be watched on a big screen. So I might give it a 5 actually.
Yeah, I was surprised this rewatch how much I felt I didn't need to see in a cinema. Because I think it was more about the dialogue and interplay between the characters than anything else. I'm going to go for 4. And the engagement score.
I think there are the occasional shot definitely merits. Like there's the occasional shot like where it's they're tiny figures in the distance and you just have the landscape and little figures in it and things like that benefit from a big screen. But other than that, yeah.
And the score maybe, but I had headphones on, so I felt like the sound was in my brain type thing. So,
engagement score, Matt.
Fully engaged. Again, 4.
Amelie.
So I wasn't fully engaged, honestly. I think, to be honest, for me, it was just the last scene which I really enjoyed. So basically, I'm scared of snake, but I thought it was really thrilling, really scary. And I really loved the scene afterwards with the horse when he stabs the horse for it to be faster. So that bit, I got more engaged. But in the middle and kind of beginning, I was kind of checking my phone as well. So I would say 2.5.
Helen?
I'll go for a solid 4 as well. It probably could be a little bit tighter. Just as a kind of a bit of time where they're sort of on the trail and it goes cold and there's a little bit of like waiting for them to kind of find him or the next thing to happen. But yeah, I was engaged and I couldn't remember enough for me to be like double screening or anything like that. So yeah, a good 4.
4.1. I think benefiting from the fact that I hadn't seen it for a while, more than anything. And I forgot what the story was. Like I say, I forgot that she got bitten and forgot that her arm fell off. So it's quite nice to like, shit, that happens. Yeah, so it gives us an overall score of 3.75563. So going back to our list of other Coen Brothers films, Helen, how does this rank?
So it's in the middle. So at the bottom, we've got The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and then we've got No Country for Old Men. Then we've got True Grit.
Can we have some scores here to compare?
All right, sorry. So Ballad of Buster Scruggs is 3.03. Then we've got True Grit with 3.75. No Country for Old Men is 3.96. Burn After Reading, 4.10.
What?
I was so surprised that because you scored that quite low.
Yeah, I did. And I think the person who brought it then upped everything to a 5. To counterbalance
5.
But also, I think I was quite surprised at how much I enjoyed the second time Burn After Reading. So, yeah. Anyway, Karen, what
I need to rewatch Burn After Reading, to be fair. It's not one I've got fond memories of.
I wouldn't recommend it.
It's better than True Grit according to the scores here. Carry on.
Outrageous.
4.46. We've got Fargo, and the winner is The Big Lebowski with 4.67. Well, they've got loads of other films.
I can't argue with that.
Wow.
So we look forward to Inside Llewyn Davis. So Brother Without Now. What was the first one that did?
Blood Simple.
Not Blood Simple. Sorry, not the first one. One with John.
Raising Arizona.
Arizona. I'd love that to be on Netflix and for someone to choose it. Yeah. So they've got so many films. It'd be great to just have them all on here, right? Right. So we have one person who's commented on Twitter. So guys listening, if you are listening to us for the first time, do follow us on Twitter. We are at FlixWatcherPod. One of the main reasons to follow us is because before we record, we put a shout out asking for you guys to comment and be a part of the show. And we put a tweet out like this. We're reviewing True Grit with the only Cleo Luna. That's Emily. And at FilmFan1971, that's Matt from A Fatal Attract Pod. That's their podcast. Have you seen it? Tell us your thoughts and your score out of 5 stars for an on-air shout out. I don't know what that is. For an on-air shout out. On Flixwatcher. We had one response.
So this one's from Matthew O'Connor. True Grit should be on the school curriculum. The soundtrack is extraordinary, as is Bridges. Few people tell stories as well as the Coens. 5 out of 5.
So he won the Academy Award the year after this, didn't he, for like Wild at Heart? Crazy Heart, yeah. And I think a lot of people because he should have got it for True Grit. It's one of those kind of things, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He should have got it for The Big Lebowski.
No, that's too comedic, though.
Do you know what? So apparently I was listening to your podcast about True Grit today, and it's one of the most nominated films that ever went home empty-handed.
I can
You
imagine
got 10 nominations.
That many?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
10 nominations, and you can get 1 Oscar.
Wow, that's harsh. But again, it's slightly fun, isn't it? So they don't know how to deal with that.
Maybe it was a better year for the films.
I've got the nominees. Do you want me to read off what it was nominated for?
Yeah, rattle them off, yeah.
Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Director, Directors, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Achievement in Cinematography, Best Achievement in Costume Design, Best Achievement in Sound Mixing, Best Achievement in Sound Editing, Best Achievement in Art Direction. Oh, that's it. So, yeah.
Who shot this?
Deakins.
Well, I was going to say,
Robbed again.
Deakins robbed again. But yeah, that's just Deakins' life, isn't it? He's happy now. He's got his Oscars. Amelie, Matt, can you tell us where we can find you online and say goodbye to the listeners?
Okay, I'm Matthew Turner. I'm at FilmFan1971 on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd. And there's the podcast, obviously, at Fatal Attract Pod. And I do a Hidden Gems column on Vodzilla, which is essentially like the best films you probably haven't seen on Netflix and the best films you probably haven't seen on Amazon Prime. And that's basically sort of my pride and joy as a critic. I do lots of other reviews for other things as well, but that's the things I'd point you in the direction of.
Nice.
I'm at the only Cleo Luna, and you can hear me on the podcast as well on the Fatal Attract Pod. So.
Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us, and thanks to everyone who's listening.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes, and Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Ben, and that's Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.